Welcome to our U.S. briefing program. Today, we're diving into some fascinating developments around the globe. First up, Europe seems to be shaking off its military slumber, with countries like Germany rethinking their defense strategies in light of Russian threats. A historic parliamentary vote could see an influx of €600 billion into military spending over the next decade, marking a significant shift in European defense policy. However, a unified approach remains elusive as different nations perceive threats in varied ways. Next, we turn our attention to Vietnam, which is making strides to address U.S. trade concerns amidst a tense relationship with President Trump. With a commitment of $90.3 billion in trade agreements, Vietnam is hoping to mitigate trade tensions and strengthen ties with the U.S. However, uncertainty looms as to whether these efforts will satisfy the administration, especially with potential tariffs on the horizon. Finally, we're excited to report that Japanese novels are making waves in the British book scene. With titles like Asako Yuzuki's Butter flying off the shelves, Japanese fiction now accounts for a whopping 40% of the UK's top-selling translated literature. This surge in popularity reflects a growing interest in Japanese culture and literature among British readers. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. CNN reports that Europe is experiencing a significant shift in its military stance, catalyzed by recent geopolitical tensions and a perceived lack of support from the United States. The turning point came after a controversial meeting where Donald Trump publicly criticized Ukraine's President Zelensky, leading European leaders to reassess their defense strategies. Germany, in particular, has taken unprecedented steps by removing its constitutional debt limits to potentially unlock €600 billion for defense spending over the next decade. This marks a monumental change for a nation historically hesitant to invest heavily in military capabilities. Other European countries are also reconsidering their defense policies, with France discussing nuclear protection for its allies and Poland and the Baltic states withdrawing from treaties that limited military preparedness. This awakening has prompted a broader conversation about European unity and the varying degrees of threat perception across the continent. South China Morning Post highlights Vietnam's aggressive trade strategy aimed at appeasing the United States amid ongoing trade tensions. With a significant trade surplus with the U.S., Vietnam has committed to purchasing American goods and investing in various sectors, including aviation and oil. Recent discussions between Vietnamese officials and U.S. trade representatives resulted in agreements worth over $90 billion, showcasing Vietnam's determination to address trade balance concerns. However, uncertainty looms over whether these measures will satisfy the Trump administration, especially with potential tariff increases on Vietnamese exports. As Vietnam navigates its economic relationship with the U.S., the stakes are high, given that the U.S. market accounts for a substantial portion of its exports, and any punitive tariffs could jeopardize the country's economic stability. South China Morning Post also delves into the world of China's cyber-nationalists, exemplified by influencer Sima Nan, who has built a career attacking perceived enemies of the state. Despite his popularity and the financial success of his nationalist rhetoric, Sima recently faced scrutiny for tax evasion, exposing the precarious balance between state approval and the limits of acceptable discourse. His case illustrates the broader trend of cyber-nationalism in China, where influencers profit from promoting patriotic sentiment, often at the expense of private enterprises. However, the Chinese government appears to be tightening its grip, signaling a crackdown on those who cross the line, particularly when private businesses are targeted. This dynamic raises questions about the future of nationalist influencers and the government's efforts to manage public sentiment in a way that supports economic growth while maintaining control over the narrative. Nikkei Asia reports that Japanese novels are taking the British book scene by storm, with English translations becoming bestsellers across the UK. Asako Yuzuki's Butter has made waves, selling 280,000 copies in Britain, far exceeding its original sales in Japan. The novel, which explores the life of a journalist who immerses herself in the culinary world of a convicted woman, resonates with readers for its relatable themes of relationships and gender issues. The popularity of Japanese fiction, particularly from female authors, is evident as it accounts for 40% of top-selling translated literature in the UK, with book clubs, like the one hosted by the Japan Society, drawing increased interest in these works. In a significant statement, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth emphasized Japan's crucial role in countering Chinese aggression during his visit to Tokyo, referring to the nation as a cornerstone of peace and security in the Indo-Pacific. Hegseth's remarks highlight the long-standing military alliance between the U.S. and Japan, which is bolstered by the presence of around 50,000 U.S. military personnel in Japan. This relationship is underscored by shared values and a commitment to maintaining stability in the region, particularly in light of rising tensions across the Taiwan Strait. Hegseth's visit also included a memorial service on Iwo Jima, a poignant reminder of the historical ties between the two nations. According to the Associated Press, scientists in South Africa are introducing weevils from Louisiana to combat the invasive aquatic plant, Salvinia minima, which is choking local waterways and threatening aquatic ecosystems. The weevils, which exclusively feed on the Salvinia, are part of a broader effort to restore balance in the region's freshwater systems. However, experts caution that while the weevils may help control the invasive plant, their introduction could lead to unintended consequences, such as the proliferation of harmful bacteria. The urgency of the situation is heightened by the plant's rapid growth, which has already begun to affect neighboring countries, prompting a coordinated response to manage the ecological threat. South China Morning Post reports that President Donald Trump has firmly stated he will not fire anyone over the recent leak of his administration's plans for an air strike against the Houthis in Yemen. During an NBC News interview, Trump expressed his confidence in National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth, downplaying the incident as a product of fake news and witch hunts. The leak occurred when Waltz accidentally included journalist Jeffrey Goldberg in a group text discussing the strike, which subsequently led to an article in The Atlantic that alarmed national security officials. Trump emphasized his intention to maintain stability within his administration, recalling the swift dismissal of his first national security advisor, Mike Flynn, during the Russia investigation. Additionally, Trump addressed his upcoming tariffs on foreign cars, asserting that he is indifferent to potential price increases, as he believes that consumers will ultimately choose American-made vehicles. Australian Broadcasting Corporation highlights the growing protests against Elon Musk's recent actions as head of the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which has resulted in significant cuts to the U.S. government workforce. Demonstrators have gathered outside Tesla dealerships across the United States and in major European cities, voicing their opposition to Musk's influence and the perceived threat to democracy. As protests spread from New Jersey to Texas, activists chanted slogans and displayed signs criticizing Musk's role in government spending cuts. While some protests turned violent, with incidents of vandalism reported, Musk remains optimistic about Tesla's future, predicting increased sales and reaffirming confidence in the company's flagship Model Y. Despite the backlash and declining sales, Musk is determined to navigate this turbulent period, aiming to steer Tesla toward a brighter future amidst the ongoing challenges. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down. Voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd. Broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen. Every link a different theme, words collide in the stream. 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than nuts. Hear the voices rise aloft, truth unveils in every spot. Cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a stroke. Every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code. Journalistic real deep, secrets that they don't see. Every angle they repeat, in the news we take a lead. New perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way. finds its way. Cultures, I go, or tranquilly or do not, or enough to be you, everything and ever, or enough enough to, or enough enough to, or enough 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 enough